Welcome back. So today we're going to start chapter 8. Chapter 8 deals with real estate math. Now, before you decide to turn away from the video or fast forward through the video, I promise you I'm going to give you some tips that's going to make the math problems easy for you. Again, you can expect maybe 2 to 4 math problems, but take my word for it, you don't want to just bypass it because of the fact that I'm going to show you how if you're calculating wrong, your calculator will let you know. So if you don't see the choices there, and it's going to be obvious, either you multiply when you were supposed to divide, or maybe you divided but you didn't have the right orientation. I promise you that the math is something that is easy points. You just want to go ahead and get those easy points. All right. So with that being said, I need you to remember 3 things for me. 3 things I need you to remember. So the first thing, and I know that you've already learned this in grade school, I get it, right? But again, I want to make sure I overly prepare you for the exam. 5280 feet equals 1 mile, just in case you forgot. 43,560 square feet equals 1 acre. The third thing I need you to remember, of course, is length times width equals the area. So for example, if you have a problem that shows 271 square feet, 3,126 square feet, and the question is how many acres? How many acres? So of course, because I had you memorize this, so now you know that it needs to be 271 times 3126, and that should give us 271, as you can see, multiplied 3126 comes to 847,146. So equals 847,146. That should be what you get as far as square feet. So earlier I told you to memorize 43,560 square feet equals 1 acre. So we're trying to figure out how many acres, right? So we're going to go ahead and we're going to divide this by 43,560. So leave that number on your calculator and you're going to divide it by 43,560. And all of you guys should get 19.447. So equals 19.44, and then it's like 77. They're not going to try to trick you. So either they're going to have a choice like this, or the choice is going to be 1945. Okay, so you don't have to worry about whether or not you need to round. They're not going to try to trick you. Either you're going to see 19.45 or you're going to see 19.44, okay? So you don't have to worry. You're not going to see both of them, all right? Now remember, I'm using my phone, but you have to purchase a $5 calculator, and you can purchase that from stores like Jack's, right? But your calculator should not cost more than $5. Do not bring a scientific calculator there. It needs to be extremely basic so that the proctors that are there at the testing center are not alarmed and think that you have some answers hidden in your calculator. Okay, so do not bring a scientific calculator. Your calculator should not cost more than $5. All right. So as you can see, just solving this, you needed to use these 2, right? Now, of course, I could have used how many miles. So that's the reason I want you to memorize these 3. So a next type of problem, which is going to be the most common, right, is going to be a commission question. I want to make sure, of course, that you're able to calculate your paycheck, right? Which is obvious, right? So don't be surprised if you see 1 or 2 of those questions. So an example would be this. Let's say Tom closed a deal for, let's say, 3.5 million. So Tom closed the deal for 3.5 million. How much will Tom receive if his commission rate was at 2.5% and he has a broker split of 70-30. So, of course, all math questions is going to be just like when you were going to school. They give you 2 parts, you have to figure out the 3rd part. So, as you can see here, the 3.5 million, this is going to be part 1. Then, how much will Tom receive if his commission rate was at 2.5%? So at 2.5%, this right here, this is going to be part number 2. So you got part 1, which is the 3.5 million, and then you have part 2, which is 2.5%. So now, the first thing that you need to go after, so I'm gonna put step 1, is you gotta convert the 2.5%, which will come to 0.025. So there's an easy way that you can just go on your calculator. Remember, not your phone. You have to buy a cheap calculator. And then you put in 2.5, and then you just hit the percent sign. And then automatically will do the calculation for you. So 0.025. So now we have a number that we can work. So now that I have this number, which is part 2, then I have part 1, now I need to figure out how much will Tom receive if his commission rate, and he has a broker split of 70-30. So when you see a commission like this, always assume that the agent is going to receive the higher split. Why? Because the agent is doing mostly all the work, right? So I'll just put here so that you have it in your notes, broker Tom. So Tom is going to receive the 70%, right? So now the next, so now step 2 is going to be, how do you calculate? So now you got to calculate. So you have divide, multiply, 2 different ways you can divide. You have 0.025 over 3,500,000, or it could be 3,500,000 over 0.025, or it could be 0.025 times 3.5000, which is 3.5 million. So these are your 3 choices, because you notice you're not going to add. You know you're not going to add this plus this or minus. You know, right? These are your 3 choices, and this is the reason why I don't want you to skip over it, is because let's go through all 3 of your choices, and you're going to see that your calculator will let you know. I'm going to clear it out. It's going to tell you if you did something wrong. So again, that's the reason why I don't want you to just bypass the math. And again, one of the strategies is, if you're nervous about the math, you can skip it and come back to do the math later. You want to time yourself. You have 80 seconds for each question. What you want to do is give yourself maybe 40 seconds. If you can't think of the answer in 40 seconds, just keep it moving, because you're going to have enough time once you're done with your questions to go back. So let's do the first example here, which is 0.025 divided by 3, 5, and then 5 zeros, right? For 3.5 million. That comes to, look at that funky number, 7.42857E-9, right? So we know that is not this one. So this one comes to 7.142857E-9. So we know it's not this one. So we know we can cross that one out. So now let's clear the calculator, and now let's do the opposite. Let's switch the orientation, right? So 3.5 million divided by 0.025. That comes to 140 million. So we know it can't be 140 million. The house sold for 3.5 million. I wish I could sell a house for 3.5 million and receive commission of 140 million. I wish. So we know that it has nothing to do with division. So now we're going to clear our calculator again. 0.025 times the 3.5 million. What do we get? We get 87,500. 87,500. So this is the total commission. This is the total commission. In other words, this is 100%. This is 100%. But it says right here, and he has a broker split of 70-30. So we're trying to figure out how much will Tom receive. So now we're gonna take the 87,500 and then we're gonna multiply that by 0.70. Because 0.70, if you multiply that by 100, that's 70%. So now we're going to multiply 0.70 and now we get 61,250. 61,250. And that's the answer that you guys should have gotten. 61,250,000. That's going to be the commission check for Tom. 61,250. That's his commission. When you like to get a check for 61,250, well, you can. It's possible. So I hope this helped you. I have another training that's going to go through the different examples. That's going to be up next. Again, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video that's coming right now.
Talk about real estate math. So typically you're going to have maybe 4 different types of variations of real estate problems. So my goal is to simplify that for you. So this question says a real estate broker earns a commission of $14,800 at a rate of 3%. Now obviously the state wants to make sure that if you don't know any math, that you are able to calculate your commission, right? Because that's super important. Then it says, what is the seller price of the property? Okay, so the 2 different types that you would have is either figuring out what the seller price is or figuring out what the commission is. Now, most people already know how to figure out the commission, so that's why I chose to this one, which talks about how do you figure out how much the property sold for. Okay, so first step, you got to convert the 3%, right? So on your calculator, you just hit 3 and then the percent sign, and then it will convert the number automatically for you into 0.03. Second step is you take, because remember, all the math problems, you're going to have 2 parts, part 1, part 2, and you're going to use those 2 parts to give you part 3. So you take the commission and you divide that by the 0.03. The good news is, if you were to mix this up, you will get a super funky number, right? So you would know that the seller price couldn't be like 0.000000135, right? So that's the good news, because when you look at your choices, you're gonna say, oh, wait a minute, you know, these are not my choices. So obviously I divided backwards. So the 14,800, divide that by 0.03 gives you an answer of 493,333.333, you know, whatever. So of course you're going to choose the closest answer. The second question says DeAndre purchases a house for $330,000 and the bank authorizes a loan to value ratio of 90%. What is the amount of the loan authorized? Okay, so again, you're gonna first can't work with this number, so you're gonna convert that number into 0.90, and then again, you're gonna take that number and, like what we did before, you're gonna divide the percentage into that number to give you 297. Hopefully that's easy enough. The third question. If an income property has a value of 1.4 million and a debt of 750,000, what is the debt ratio? Okay, so they're looking for the debt ratio. How much percentage of debt is it showing, right? So you're gonna divide the debt, 750,000, divided by the value, which is the 1.4, and that comes to 0.53. So that's the debt ratio, 53%. So it's letting you know you have $1.4 million. So 50% of that would have been 700,000. So basically, if you were to subtract the 750 from that number, right, you will see that it's less than half. Exactly, should be 47%. Okay, so that's the reason why this would be the debt ratio. Okay, because it's more than 50%. Now, if this was 700, then that would be at 50%. I hope that makes sense. The next one, an investor. This is a cash. This is called a cash on cash problem. So it says an investor purchases a $2.5 million a multifamily apartment complex with a $500,000 down payment. Each month, the cash flow from rentals less expenses is $15,000. What percentage is the cash on cash return? Now, this is a great example of a question where they give you a bunch of numbers, right? 2.5 million, 500,000, 15,000. They're giving you a bunch of numbers to confuse you because this is cash on cash, right? So when you have cash in your hand, that's money that you touch. So you're only going to worry about those numbers that can be a number that you would touch, the cash amount. So the 1.5, the 2,500,000, the $2.5 million multifamily, you're not touching that price. But it says a down payment of 500,000. That's money that went through your hands, right? It went out of your hands. And then it says each month the cash flow from the rentals less expenses is 15,000. So that's money that's coming into your hands. So you got money coming in that you're touching, and then you have money that went out that you're touching. So those are the two numbers that you're going to focus on. Why? Because it talks about cash on cash. So then what you're going to do is, and that's step one. Step two, take the 15,000, right? Because it says a month. Now if it said annual, then you wouldn't have to do anything. But remember, with investments, they're always annual. So you take the 15,000 and multiply by 12. So 15,000 times 12 comes to 180,000. That's the income that's coming in, that's touching your hands. Then you divide that by the debt that went out. So 180,000 on top divided by the 500,000 gives you 36%. So hopefully that brings some clarification on the different types of math problems they have. And wish you luck.
Thanks again for coming to our channel. We look forward to continuing to help you and guide you through your real estate book. We are currently doing a New York real estate sales book, but later on we will follow with California sales book, Florida sales book, as well as New Jersey sales book. So look forward to those videos. One of the other things that we want to also discuss in the channel is investment, because most real estate professionals out there, they never get to learn about investment at their firm. So we want to talk about foreclosures, what type of properties you should buy. So don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video so that you'll be notified when we drop those videos. We're trying to drop at least a minimum of 3 videos per week, and we look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thank you.